Dr. Amanda Blake stared at her computer screen. The numbers dancing across the monitor made no sense. She had been working at the Goldstone Deep Space Communication Complex for 12 years. She had seen thousands of signals from space. Most were just noise from stars and planets. Some were from human satellites. But this signal was different. Amanda pushed her glasses up her nose and leaned closer to the screen. The signal came from deep space, far beyond any human settlement. It was not random noise. It had patterns. It had structure. It looked like language. "Jake, come look at this," Amanda called to her colleague across the room. Jake Morrison rolled his chair over to Amanda's desk. He was the best communications specialist at the facility. If anyone could make sense of strange signals, it was Jake. "What do you have?" Jake asked, looking at the data on Amanda's screen. "I found this signal buried in the background radiation from Sector 7, Amanda said. "It's been transmitting for 3 days. Look at these patterns." Jake studied the wave and frequency charts. His eyes widened. "This isn't natural. This is definitely artificial. But it's not from any human source I know." Amanda felt her heart beat faster. "That's what I thought too. Should we call Lisa?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, get Lisa down here. If this is what I think it is, we're going to need our best cryptographer." 20 minutes later, Dr. Lisa Park hurried into the communication center. Lisa was young but brilliant. She had broken more alien codes and simulations than anyone else on Earth, of course. Those had all been practice codes made by humans. This might be the real thing. "Show me," Lisa said, not bothering with greetings. Amanda played the signal again. Lisa listened carefully, watching the visual patterns on the screen. After several minutes, she sat back in her chair. "This is incredible," Lisa whispered. "The mathematical structure is unlike anything we've seen before, but there are repeating elements. It's definitely a language. Can you decode it?" Jake asked. Lisa cracked her knuckles. "Give me some time. I'll need to run it through every algorithm we have." For the next 6 hours, the 3 scientists worked without breaks. They fed the signal into powerful computers. They compared it to every known language pattern. They looked for mathematical relationships and frequency distributions. As the night wore on, more people joined them. Word had spread quietly through the facility that something big was happening. Dr. Kevin Brown from the linguistics department arrived with coffee and sandwiches. Captain Roy Davis from the military liaison office came to observe. "Any progress?" Captain Davis asked around midnight. Amanda rubbed her tired eyes. "We've identified at least 2 different communication signatures. It looks like 2 separate entities talking to each other." "You mean like a conversation?" Captain Davis asked. "Exactly," Jake said. "We're intercepting one side of a dialogue between 2 alien civilizations." Captain Davis looked stunned. "Are you certain these aren't human signals? Maybe from a classified project?" Lisa shook her head. "No way. The encoding methods are completely foreign. The frequency patterns don't match any human technology. This is the real deal." By dawn, Lisa had made a breakthrough. She had isolated key elements of the alien language and begun building a basic translation matrix. The computer was slowly learning to recognize word boundaries and sentence structures. "I think I have something," Lisa announced, her voice hoarse from exhaustion. Everyone gathered around her workstation. On the screen, alien symbols slowly transformed into English words. The translation was rough and full of gaps, but it was readable. "Amanda, read the first translated passage aloud. Status report on observation target. Planetary designation. Inhabited by species classification." She stopped reading and looked up at the others. "They're talking about observing a planet with intelligent life." "Which planet?" Jake asked, though he already suspected the answer. Lisa typed commands into her computer, cross-referencing the coordinates mentioned in the alien transmission. A star map appeared on the screen with a bright red dot marking the location. Under discussion, the red dot was centered on Earth. Amanda felt cold, despite the warm room. They're talking about us. They're talking about Earth. Captain Davis stepped forward. What exactly are they saying about us? Lisa continued, translating, her face growing paler with each sentence. They're discussing containment protocols. They mentioned something about evolutionary concerns. And here, ... they call us a potential threat. A threat? Dr. Brown asked. How can we be a threat? We haven't even left our solar system yet. Lisa kept working, translating more of the alien conversation. As she worked, the full scope of the discussion became clear. The aliens weren't just observing Earth. They were debating what to do about humanity. Look at this section, Lisa said, pointing to her screen. They're arguing about something called the human problem. One group wants immediate action. The other wants to wait and monitor us longer. Amanda sat down heavily in her chair. We're not alone in the universe, and whoever else is out there sees us as a problem that needs to be solved. Jake stared at the continuing stream of alien text. How long has this conversation been going on? Lisa checked the signal, timestamps, based on the transmission patterns. This specific discussion started 3 days ago. But there are references to previous reports going back months, maybe years. Captain Davis was already reaching for his phone. I need to contact my superiors immediately. This changes everything. Wait, Amanda said. Before we report this, we need to understand more. What kind of threat do they think we are? What are these containment protocols they keep mentioning? Lisa nodded and returned to her translation work. The alien language was becoming clearer as her algorithms learned more patterns. Each new sentence revealed more disturbing details about how the aliens viewed humanity. Here's something interesting, Lisa said. They keep using a term that translates roughly to Category 7 adaptive predators. They seem to classify different species by threat levels. Category 7 sounds high, Dr. Brown observed. It is, Lisa confirmed, continuing to read. Based on the context, most spacefaring species are Category 2 or 3. Category 7 appears to be ... unusual. As the morning sun rose over the California desert, the small team of humans continued their work. They had stumbled upon the greatest discovery in human history. But instead of celebration, they felt growing dread. Humanity was not alone. But their cosmic neighbors were not friendly. They were afraid of humans, and they were planning to do something about it. Amanda looked at her colleagues' tired faces. In a few hours, this information would reach the highest levels of government. Soon, everything would change. But for now, in the quiet communications room, 3 scientists and a military officer sat listening to aliens discuss the fate of the human race. And humanity wasn't supposed to hear any of it. Captain Steve Martinez had seen many classified briefings in his 20 years with Space Force, but nothing had prepared him for this meeting. He sat in a windowless room deep beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by people with the highest security clearances, and the government. Director Helen Carter from the National Security Agency sat at the head of the table. Her face was grim as she opened a thick folder marked with red stamps and warning labels. What you're about to hear cannot leave this room, Director Carter said. 72 hours ago, we intercepted alien communications discussing Earth and humanity. The translations are ... disturbing. Dr. Amanda Blake sat to the director's right. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Next to her, Dr. Lisa Park had dark circles under her eyes. Both women had been working non-stop since discovering the alien signals. Dr. Blake, please explain what we've learned, Director Carter said. Amanda cleared her throat. The signals come from 2 distinct alien civilizations. We've designated them Alpha and Beta. They're discussing what they call the human situation with considerable urgency. Lieutenant Commander Ryan Wells, a military strategist, leaned forward. What exactly do they consider the human situation to be? Lisa opened her laptop and displayed the latest translations on the room's main screen. They view humanity as an unprecedented threat to galactic stability. Here's a direct quote. Species designation: human shows abnormal development patterns that violate standard evolutionary models. Captain Martinez frowned. What do they mean by abnormal development? According to their records, most intelligent species take between 50 and 100,000 years to develop spaceflight after achieving agriculture. Amanda explained. Humans did it in about 10,000 years. They consider this impossibly fast. Dr. Kelly Rogers, a biologist who had been brought in to analyze the alien assessments, spoke up. It gets worse. They've been studying our biology and psychology. They've classified us as something they call aggressive adaptives. What does that mean? Director Carter asked. Dr. Rogers pulled up another document. Most alien species they know evolved from prey animals, creatures that survived by hiding, running, or cooperating. Humans evolved from predators, pack hunters. This makes our thought patterns completely foreign to them. Ryan Wells studied the translations on the screen. They're afraid of us because we're hunters. Not just hunters, Lisa said. Look at this section here. They specifically mention our destructive creativity and conflict-seeking behavior. Most species avoid danger. Humans actively seek it out for growth and learning. Captain Martinez shook his head. That doesn't sound like a bad thing. It is to them, Amanda said. According to their communications, peaceful species explore space to find resources and new homes. They expand slowly and carefully. Humans explore space to find challenges and test limits. They see this as dangerously unpredictable. Director Carter looked around the table. There's more. Dr. Blake, tell them about the timeline assessments. Amanda's voice became quieter. The aliens have been monitoring our technological progress for decades. They've calculated that humanity will achieve faster than light travel within the next 50 years. Once we can travel between stars, they believe we'll become uncontainable. Uncontainable how? Ryan asked. Dr. Rogers answered. They believe humans will aggressively colonize and militarize space. Unlike other species that establish a few peaceful colonies, they think humans will spread rapidly and establish territorial claims backed by military force. Are they wrong? Captain Martinez asked. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. Human nations had been fighting over territory and resources for thousands of years. There was no reason to think space would be different. Lisa brought up another set of translations. Here's where it gets really concerning. The two alien factions are debating response options. Alpha faction wants immediate intervention before humans develop interstellar capability. Beta faction prefers continued monitoring and gradual suppression of human technology. Suppression. Director Carter's voice was sharp. Explain that. Beta faction believes they can slow human development through subtle interference, Amanda said. They want to prevent us from reaching the stars without direct confrontation. Ryan Wells stood up and began pacing. This explains so much. The mysterious failures in our Mars colonization program, the setbacks in fusion research, the recurring problems with our deep space missions. Captain Martinez felt a chill run down his spine. You think they've been sabotaging us already? Look at this data, Dr. Rogers said, pulling up charts on her tablet. Over the past 30 years, human space technology has had an unusually high failure rate. Rockets that should have worked perfectly suffered mysterious malfunctions. Research data got corrupted at critical moments. Key scientists had unexpected accidents or changed their research focus suddenly. But we still made progress, Director Carter pointed out. Because humans don't give up, Lisa said. That's actually mentioned in the alien communications. They're frustrated that their interference only slows us down temporarily. Every time they block one path, Humans find 3 new approaches. Amanda pulled up the most recent translations. The Alpha faction is using this persistence as evidence that subtle suppression won't work. They're arguing for direct action before it's too late. What kind of direct action? Captain Martinez asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. Military intervention, Amanda said quietly. They want to either destroy human civilization or reduce us to a pre-technological state. The room erupted in angry voices. Ryan Wells slammed his hand on the table. Dr. Rogers started taking rapid notes. Captain Martinez felt his training kick in as he mentally assessed threat levels and response options. Director Carter raised her hand for silence. There's one more thing. Dr. Blake, show them the latest intercept. Amanda's hands shook slightly as she brought up the newest translation. This message was transmitted 6 hours ago. Alpha faction has convinced the governing council that humans represent a Category 7 threat requiring immediate containment. What does that mean practically? Ryan asked. Lisa read directly from her translation. Quote, Intervention fleet will depart for human solar system within local time cycle. Containment protocols will be implemented before species achieves interstellar capability. No human vessels will be permitted beyond planetary gravity wells. Captain Martinez felt his blood turn cold. They're sending warships. How long do we have? Amanda consulted her calculations. Based on their references to distance and travel time, we estimate 18 to 24 months before they arrive in our solar system. Director Carter stood up. Gentlemen, ladies, we have less than 2 years to prepare for the first interstellar war in human history, and the enemy has technology we can barely comprehend. Ryan Wells stopped pacing and looked at the translations again. But we have one advantage they don't know about. What's that? Dr. Rogers asked. Ryan smiled grimly. We heard them coming. And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's preparing for war when we know the enemy is coming. Captain Martinez nodded slowly. They're right to be afraid of us. But now they're going to find out exactly why. The meeting continued deep into the night as the group began planning humanity's response to a threat from the stars. Outside the Pentagon, normal life continued. People went to work. Children played in parks. Families had dinner together. None of them knew that their species had just been sentenced to containment by alien judges, and none of them knew that their government was already preparing to prove why humans were right to be feared. Nina Torres had always been good at finding patterns. As an intelligence analyst for the Defense Intelligence Agency, she spent her days looking through massive amounts of data to find connections that others missed. But the assignment director Carter had given her was unlike anything she had ever done before. Nina sat in her small office, surrounded by stacks of files and multiple computer screens. For the past 2 weeks, she had been investigating every major failure in human space exploration over the last 50 years. The results made her stomach turn. Agent Carlos Murphy knocked on her door and entered without waiting for permission. Carlos led a special task force that had been created after the alien signals were discovered. His team was investigating possible alien interference in human affairs. What do you have for me, Nina? Carlos asked, sitting down in the chair across. From her desk, Nina picked up a thick folder marked Project Icarus Analysis. She had named the investigation after the Greek myth about flying too close to the sun. Carlos, we've been blind, Nina said. The aliens haven't just been watching us. They've been actively sabotaging human progress for decades. She opened the folder and spread out timeline charts across her desk. Red marks indicated major failures in space technology. Blue marks showed successful missions. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. Look at this, Nina said, pointing to the timeline. In 1986, the Challenger disaster. Official cause was O-ring failure due to cold weather. But look at the weather data. It wasn't unusually cold that morning. The O-rings had worked fine in colder temperatures during testing. Carlos studied the documents. You think aliens caused the Challenger explosion? Not directly, Nina said. But look at this metallurgy report from 2019. Advanced analysis of the recovered O-ring fragments shows microscopic structural changes that don't match the official failure explanation. The material was weakened at the molecular level. She pulled out another file. The Columbia disaster in 2003. Foam insulation struck the wing during launch. But here's what's interesting. That same foam configuration had been used successfully on dozens of previous missions. Something made it behave differently that one time. Carlos was beginning to understand. You're saying they found ways to make our technology fail without leaving obvious evidence? Exactly, Nina said. And it's not just spacecraft disasters. Look at this list of research setbacks. She handed him a document listing dozens of incidents over the years. Fusion research facilities that suffered mysterious equipment failures. Computer systems at NASA that crashed and lost critical data. Key scientists who suddenly abandoned promising research projects. Dr. Patricia Lee helped me analyze the technical failures, Nina continued. She found that many of these problems involved technology that was working perfectly right up until it suddenly wasn't. No gradual deterioration, no warning signs. Just sudden, complete failure. Carlos flipped through the documents. How did they do it without being detected? Nina pulled up files on her computer. Tony Kim has been studying that question. He's an engineer who specializes in failure analysis. Tony found evidence of what he calls precision sabotage. She showed Carlos a technical diagram on her screen. See this analysis of the Mars Climate Orbiter mission that failed in 1999? Official report blamed a unit conversion error between metric and imperial measurements. But Tony found something interesting in the archived software code. Carlos looked at the screen but couldn't make sense of the programming language. What am I looking at? The conversion error wasn't in the original code, Nina explained. It was inserted into the system just days before launch. But it was done so skillfully that it looked like a human mistake. The person who found it assumed one of the programmers had made a simple error. Carlos sat back in his chair. So they can hack our computer systems. More than that, Nina said. They seem to understand human psychology perfectly. Every failure was designed to look like something humans might do wrong naturally. Mechanical failures that could be explained by poor quality control. Software errors that looked like human mistakes. Research dead ends that seemed like normal scientific challenges. She pulled out a world map covered in red pins. Tony and I mapped out all the incidents over the past 50 years. Look at the pattern. Carlos studied the map. The red pins were scattered across the globe, but there was a clear concentration around major space agencies and research facilities. They targeted the most advanced human space technology programs, Nina said. NASA, ESA, Roscosmos, SpaceX, and major universities. Anywhere humans were making rapid progress toward interstellar capability. But we still advanced, Carlos pointed out. We still built the International Space Station. We still sent rovers to Mars. Nina nodded. That's what's so clever about their approach. They didn't try to stop human space exploration completely. That would have been too obvious and might have made us suspicious. Instead, they slowed us down, made everything take longer and cost more. She showed him a projection chart. Dr. Lee calculated that without these setbacks, humans would have established permanent Mars colonies by 2010. We would have had fusion power by 2000. We might have achieved interstellar travel by 2020. Carlos whistled softly. They bought themselves decades, and they almost got away with it, Nina said. If we hadn't intercepted their communications, we never would have known. We would have kept blaming ourselves for the failures. She pulled out one final document. But here's the most disturbing part. The sabotage has been accelerating over the past 10 years. The timeline showed a sharp increase in mysterious failures and setbacks after 2015. Research projects that were on the verge of breakthrough suddenly hit insurmountable problems. Private space companies experienced more equipment failures. Promising young scientists changed careers or had their funding mysteriously cut. They're getting desperate, Carlos realized. Human technology has been advancing despite their interference. Nina nodded. Exactly. The more they slow us down, the more determined humans become to succeed. And our backup plans have backup plans. When they block one research path, we find 5 new approaches. Carlos stood up and began pacing around the small office. This changes our strategic assessment completely. They've been fighting a covert war against humanity for 50 years. And losing, Nina added. Despite all their efforts, humans are still on track to achieve interstellar flight within their projected timeline. That's why Alpha Faction convinced their council to authorize direct military intervention. Carlos stopped pacing and looked at Nina. Can you prove all this? Will our evidence hold up to scrutiny? Nina smiled for the first time in weeks. Tony Kim has been reverse engineering their sabotage methods. We now understand how they hack our systems and manipulate our technology. Better yet, we think we can use their own techniques against them. She pulled up a new file on her computer. Dr. Lee has been developing countermeasures based on the alien technical signatures we've identified. If they can sabotage our technology remotely, maybe we can sabotage theirs. Carlos felt a grim satisfaction. They wanted to slow down human technological development. Instead, they just taught us new ways to fight. Nina gathered up her files and locked them in her secure cabinet. There's something else, Carlos. The pattern shows they're not just afraid of our technology. They're afraid of human nature itself. What do you mean? Every time they create a setback, humans respond by working harder and trying new approaches, Nina explained. Most species probably give up when they hit obstacles. Humans see obstacles as challenges to overcome. Carlos headed toward the door, then stopped and looked back. Nina, how many people know about this analysis? Just our team and the Pentagon briefing group, she said. Why? Carlos smiled grimly. Because I think it's time to let the aliens know that their secret war isn't secret anymore. And I think it's time to show them what humans do when we know we're under attack. As Carlos left her office, Nina turned back to her computers. There was still more evidence to find, more patterns to uncover. But she was no longer looking for proof of alien interference. Now she was looking for weaknesses in alien technology that humans could exploit. The hidden war was about to become very visible indeed. Colonel Adam Foster walked into the classified briefing room at Peterson Space Force Base. The room was filled with the best scientific and military minds in the country. Everyone looked tired but determined. They had been working around the clock for 6 weeks, trying to understand why aliens considered humanity such a threat. Dr. Rachel Stone sat at the front of the room with a stack of psychological analysis reports. As the military's top expert on alien behavior, she had been studying the intercepted communications to understand how alien minds worked. Colonel Foster, please take a seat, Rachel said. We're about to discuss our most important findings yet. Adam sat down next to engineer Derek Walsh and Dr. Megan Clark, a biologist who specialized in evolutionary psychology. Both looked like they had been drinking too much coffee and sleeping too little. Before we begin, Rachel said, I want everyone to understand something crucial. The aliens aren't afraid of our weapons or our technology. They're afraid of how we think. She activated the large display screen and showed a comparison chart. On one side were human psychological traits. On the other side were the psychological profiles of known alien species based on the intercepted communications. Every spacefaring species the aliens know evolved from prey animals, Rachel explained. Creatures that survived by hiding from predators, running away from danger, or grouping together for protection. Their natural instinct when faced with a problem is to avoid it or find the safest solution. Derek leaned forward. That makes sense. Caution would be a survival advantage for most species. Exactly, Rachel said. But humans evolved differently. We evolved from persistence hunters and pack predators. Our ancestors survived by chasing down larger, stronger animals over long distances. When humans encounter a problem, our instinct is to attack it head-on until we solve it. Dr. Megan Clark pulled out her own research files. I've been analyzing what the aliens call our behavioral anomalies. They've identified several human traits that no other known species possesses. She put up a new slide, listing human characteristics that puzzled the aliens. First, humans actively seek out dangerous situations for learning and growth, Megan said. Every other species avoids unnecessary risk. Humans climb mountains, explore caves, dive to ocean depths, and launch themselves into space just to see what's there. Colonel Foster nodded. That sounds like typical human behavior to me. It's unique in the galaxy, Rachel said. According to their records, when most species achieve spaceflight, they use it to find safe, habitable worlds and establish secure colonies. Humans use spaceflight to go to hostile environments like Mars and see if we can survive there. Derek pulled up engineering reports on his tablet. That explains something I found in their technical assessments. They're amazed by human engineering, philosophy. He showed the group alien commentary on human technology development. Most species develop very reliable, safe technology slowly over thousands of years. Humans build experimental prototypes, test them until they break, then build better versions quickly. They call it destructive innovation, Megan added. The concept of deliberately breaking things to learn how to improve them is completely foreign to them. Rachel brought up more psychological analysis, but the trait that scares them most is what they call conflict-seeking behavior. When humans face competition or hostility, we don't retreat or negotiate. We escalate. Colonel Foster smiled grimly. You mean we fight back? More than that, Rachel said. Human history shows that when attacked, humans don't just defend themselves. They counterattack with greater force than they received. The aliens have studied our wars, and they're terrified by the pattern they see. She showed examples from human military history. When Pearl Harbor was attacked, America didn't just rebuild its Pacific Fleet. It built the largest navy in history and invaded Japan. When terrorists attacked the Twin Towers, America didn't just strengthen security. It invaded two countries and hunted down terrorist networks worldwide. Derek was taking notes rapidly. So they're afraid we'll do the same thing in space. Exactly, Megan said. They believe that if humans are attacked by aliens, we won't just build defenses. We'll build invasion fleets and hunt down every alien world we can find. Rachel pulled up the most recent alien communications. This is a direct quote. From their strategic assessment, human species shows unprecedented aggressive expansion patterns. Unlike standard territorial species that claim and defend fixed boundaries, humans continuously expand into new territories while maintaining previous holdings. Projection models indicate humans will claim entire galaxy within 5,000 local years of achieving interstellar flight. Colonel Foster sat back in his chair. 5,000 years to conquer the galaxy. Are they serious? That's based on human expansion rates on Earth, Derek explained. They calculated how fast humans spread across continents and applied those rates to galactic distances. From their perspective, it's terrifyingly fast. Dr. Megan Clark showed them more behavioral analysis. They're also confused by human pack behavior. Most species have individual leaders who make decisions for the group. Humans have distributed Leadership where different individuals take charge depending on the situation. What's scary about that? Colonel Foster asked. It makes humans unpredictable and very hard to defeat, Rachel explained. If you capture or kill the leader of most species, the group becomes confused and helpless. If you capture a human leader, another human immediately takes charge and continues the mission. She showed them alien observations of human military operations. They've studied our special forces, and they can't understand how human soldiers continue fighting effectively, even when separated from their units and commanders. Most alien species would surrender or flee in similar situations. Derek had been reviewing engineering data while the others talked. There's something else, he said. They're amazed by human adaptability. Most species are specialized for specific environments. Humans can survive almost anywhere with basic tools. He showed them alien analysis of human physiology. They consider human environmental tolerance to be impossible. No other species can function effectively in temperatures ranging from Arctic cold to desert heat, at sea level or high altitude, with high oxygen or low oxygen. They tested human limits, Colonel Foster asked. They've been observing human activities for decades, Megan said. Mountain climbers, Arctic explorers, desert researchers, deep-sea divers. They can't believe one species can adapt to so many different environments without evolutionary changes. Rachel pulled up the final analysis. But the thing that terrifies them most is human learning speed. Most species take hundreds of generations to develop new technologies or strategies. Humans do it within a single generation. She showed them alien calculations of human technological advancement. They estimate that from first powered flight to landing on the moon, humans advanced faster than any species in their records. Most species take 50,000 years to go from atmospheric flight to space travel. Humans did it in 66 years. Colonel Foster stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see F-35 fighters practicing aerial maneuvers. So, basically, we're everything they're afraid of. We're aggressive, adaptable, fast-learning pack hunters who love challenges and never give up. That's a perfect summary, Rachel said. And now they're sending a fleet to stop us before we spread beyond Earth. Derek closed his tablet and looked around the room. But they made one crucial mistake. What's that? Dr. Megan Clark asked. Derek smiled. They told us they were coming. And if there's one thing humans excel at, it's preparing for a fight when we know the enemy is on the way. Colonel Foster turned back to the group. They're right to be afraid of us. But now they're going to find out that attacking humans is the one thing guaranteed to make us even more dangerous. Rachel gathered her files. We have 18 months to prepare. 18 months to show them why their worst fears about humanity are about to come true. As the briefing ended, the group dispersed to continue their preparations. Outside, the sun was setting over Colorado Springs. In less than 2 years, alien ships would enter Earth's solar system, expecting to find a primitive species ready for containment. Instead, they would find humans doing what humans did best, turning a defensive situation into an offensive opportunity. Admiral Susan Gray stood on the bridge of the newly launched USS Defiance, humanity's first true warship designed for space combat. Through the reinforced windows, she could see Earth growing smaller behind them. Ahead lay the outer solar system, where alien ships had been detected moving toward Earth. The past 18 months had changed everything. Once the world's governments learned about the alien threat, humanity had responded in the most human way possible, by preparing for war while hoping for peace. But planning as if peace was impossible. Dr. Nathan Cruz floated over to the Admiral's command station. In zero gravity, the elderly scientist moved with surprising grace. Nathan had led the crash program to develop weapons and defenses based on alien technology weaknesses discovered in the intercepted communications. Admiral, we're receiving the final updates from Earth, Nathan said, handing her a data tablet. All defense platforms are operational. The lunar bases report ready status. Mars colonies have completed their defensive installations. Susan nodded as she reviewed the reports. Humanity had worked faster than ever before in its history. When faced with extinction, humans had proven the alien fears correct. They could accomplish in months what normally took years. Commander, Julia Barnes approached from the communications station. She had been coordinating with the international fleet that now surrounded Earth. Ships from every space-capable nation flew together under a unified human command. Admiral, we're getting signals from the detection network, Julia reported. The alien fleet will reach the outer system in approximately 6 hours. Susan felt the familiar calm that came before battle. She had served in the Navy for 30 years, but this was unlike any engagement in human history. Humanity's survival, as a free species, depended on the next few hours. Status report on our fleet, Susan ordered. Julia consulted her displays. 47 combat vessels operational and in position. Defense platforms at Luna, Mars, and the asteroid belt report full readiness. Captain Peter Lane confirms that the Vengeance battle group is ready for deep space operations. Dr. Nathan Cruz pulled up tactical displays showing the alien fleet composition. Based on their communications, they expect minimal resistance. Their ships are configured for planetary bombardment and occupation, not fleet combat. They're in for a surprise, Susan said grimly. The months since the alien discovery had revealed the full scope of human adaptability. Engineers had reverse-engineered alien sabotage techniques and turned them into weapons. Scientists had developed new alloys based on alien metallurgy weaknesses mentioned in their communications. Military strategists had planned tactics specifically designed to exploit alien psychological vulnerabilities. Admiral, called Lieutenant Ben Scott from the sensor station. Undetecting the alien fleet. 36 vessels, approaching from the direction of Alpha Centauri. Susan activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Gray. The moment we've prepared for has arrived. Remember, they expect to find a primitive species ready for conquest. Instead, they're going to find humans defending their home. She paused, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. For 50 years, they've sabotaged our progress, thinking they could keep us contained on Earth. Today, we show them what happens when you try to cage a predator. The alien fleet moved into the outer solar system with the confidence of a superior force facing inferior opponents. Their ships were larger than human vessels, with technology centuries more advanced. But they had never fought humans before. Captain Peter Lane commanded the Vengeance. Positioned with the Deep Space Battle Group beyond Pluto's orbit, his mission was to test alien responses and provide intelligence for the main battle. Alien fleet is maintaining standard approach formation, Peter reported to Admiral Gray. No defensive positioning. They're not expecting resistance. Dr. Nathan Cruz had positioned himself at the tactical station. Begin implementation of Surprise Protocol Alpha, he ordered. The first human attack came not from weapons, but from the alien fleet's own technology. Human hackers, using techniques learned from decades of alien sabotage, began inserting viruses into alien computer systems. The viruses were designed to look like natural system failures. Enemy ships are reporting navigation malfunctions, Julia announced with satisfaction. 3 vessels have dropped out of formation. Susan smiled coldly. Let them taste their own medicine. How do they like being sabotaged? But the real shock for the aliens came when the human fleet revealed itself. Instead of hiding behind planetary defenses, human ships had positioned themselves throughout the solar system, using tactics no other species had ever employed. All units, execute dispersal attack pattern, Susan ordered. Human ships attacked from multiple directions, simultaneously. The aliens had expected to face a concentrated defense around Earth. Instead, They found themselves surrounded by human vessels that had been hidden in asteroid fields, behind moons, and in the darkness of space. The alien communications, which humans continued to intercept, revealed their growing panic. Their commanders are confused, Dr. Nathan reported, translating the alien chatter in real time. They're asking how humans spread throughout the system so quickly. They don't understand human rapid deployment capabilities. The battle revealed everything the aliens had feared about human nature. When alien ships targeted human vessels, the humans didn't retreat or request negotiations. They immediately escalated, targeting alien ships with concentrated firepower from multiple angles. Enemy flagship is attempting to withdraw, Captain Peter Lane reported from the outer system. Should we let them go? Negative, Admiral Gray replied instantly. Human doctrine. If someone attacks your home, you make sure they can't do it again. The human response was everything the aliens had predicted and feared. Humans didn't just defend themselves. They counterattacked with overwhelming force. When the alien fleet tried to retreat, human ships pursued them beyond the solar system. Commander Julia Barnes coordinated the pursuit. Admiral, Captain Lane's battle group is staying with the retreating aliens. They're sending continuous reports back to their fleet commanders. Susan nodded approvingly. Good. Let them tell their superiors. What happened here? Dr. Nathan Cruz monitored the alien communications as the battle ended. Admiral, you need to hear this. The alien fleet commander is sending an emergency report to his government. He played the translated communication. Human species exceeded all threat projections. Recommend immediate classification upgrade to Category 9. Request full military assessment of human capabilities. Warning, containment protocols have failed. Humans are now aware of galactic community and have proven combat effectiveness against superior technology. Admiral Gray stood at the center of her bridge, surrounded by her crew. Through the windows, she could see human ships regrouping after their victory. In the distance, Earth shone like a blue jewel against the darkness of space. Open a channel to the alien fleet, Susan ordered. Julia looked surprised. Admiral, do it, Susan said firmly. When the communication link was established, Admiral Gray spoke directly to the alien commanders. Her words were translated and transmitted across space, 2 ships fleeing toward other star systems. This is Admiral Susan Gray of the Human Space Force, she began. For 50 years, your people have secretly attacked our civilization, sabotaged our progress, and planned our destruction. You called us a threat that needed to be contained. She paused, letting her words sink in. You were right to be afraid, but your greatest mistake was letting us know you existed. Humans don't respond to threats by hiding or surrendering. We respond by eliminating the threat. Her voice grew harder. Return to your governance with this message. Humanity is now aware of the galactic community, and we're coming to join it on our own terms. Any species that threatens Earth or human colonies will discover why you were right to fear us. As the alien ships disappeared into interstellar space, carrying news of their defeat back to their home worlds, Admiral Gray turned to her crew. Set course for Earth, she ordered. We have work to do. Dr. Nathan Cruz approached her with a final report. Admiral, we've decoded the last alien transmission. They're warning their government that the humans have become what they most feared, an aggressive, adaptable species with interstellar capability and hostile intentions. Susan looked out at the stars, where human ships were already beginning to spread beyond the solar system. They created their own worst nightmare. They tried to contain predators, and instead taught us that we have enemies among the stars. Commander Julia Barnes joined them at the observation deck. What are your orders for the fleet, Admiral? Susan smiled, and it was not a peaceful expression. Begin deep space exploration missions, establish forward bases, and find out where our enemies live. As the human fleet regrouped around Earth, alien governments throughout the galaxy received the most terrifying news in their recorded history. The species they had tried to contain was now free, armed, and actively hostile. The aliens had been right about one thing. Humans were dangerous. But they had underestimated just how dangerous humans became when someone threatened their home. Now the galaxy would learn what humans did. Two enemies who tried to destroy them, and the aliens were about to discover that their worst fears about humanity were only the beginning.